Alright, so the Cape Crusader, the new Batman show coming out in August on Amazon, has finally released a trailer, and I have some thoughts. But I can't show you guys still images or footage because this video will get hit faster than you can say, "Holy, what was that, Batman?" Now, personally, I don't hate the trailer. I thought the trailer was interesting, but it didn't wow me. For something that is supposed to be cooked up by Bruce Timm and company, it doesn't really have that Bruce Timm vibe to it. It's okay, but I mean, I was more impressed with the Batman Year One movie, with that animation style and that look. And this show is just kind of like Batman the Animated Series light, with some swear words and blood and a little bit more violence and Batman villains that don't really look like signature Batman villains. Now, again, I know that this is supposed to take place in either the 30s and the 40s, but if that's really true, Bruce Timm has some explaining to do because there's some elements in this trailer that didn't exist in the 1940s. At least not to the extent that they're showing, but we'll get into that. We have a actual voice of Batman now, and his name is newcomer Hamish Linklater. But I will say this, his voice sounds pretty good as Batman. I'm usually a pretty hard guy to please when it comes to Batman's voice. You guys know who my favorite Batman was, R.I.P. Kevin Conroy. But there's been other people to wear the cowl over the years and don the boots and things like that, and their voices have been okay. But from what I've heard of Linklater, he's alright. It actually works for the setting of where the show is supposed to take place, which is the 1940s or 30s. Still trying to, lock down an era for that, so I think his voice works for what it is. I haven't really heard a lot of his Bruce Wayne voice. His Batman voice is mysterious and kind of raspy, and I think it goes with the era that they're trying to showcase. Other voice actors that we know, this is a surprise. Diedrich Bader is back, who you guys will probably remember from Batman Brave and the Bold as the main character Batman. He's playing Harvey Dent Two-Face, and both Harvey Dent and Two-Face will show up in the show, and Two-Face is going to have a very different appearance than what we're accustomed to. It's going to be kind of grotesque looking, and more on what, I guess people would look like in real life if they had the type of damage that's going to happen to Two-Face's face. Clayface is also not really a mud monster. He's more like a dude whose face looks like a Dick Tracy villain. And again, I'm not here to knock the show as long as it's interesting and it's well written. And, the voice cast, from what I heard, doesn't really bother me. But the story is going to more or less make or break the show. And with Hollywood the way it is, it's like, will they, score a home run like X-Men 97 did by sticking true to the characters and the storytelling and rejecting a lot of Hollywood nonsense? Or are we going to see basically the Acolyte in Batman form? Time will tell. This day and age, you never know. You can't judge a book by its cover because, these people, on that one side of the political spectrum, they can't help themselves. They literally wear their political beliefs like a football or baseball team. It's all they know. It's a huge part of their identity, and that's sad. But unfortunately, it bleeds into every type of entertainment that they work in. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with the show. It is a Hollywood show. It's on Amazon, so who knows? I'm hoping it's going to be good because the voice cast is actually pretty decent. So let's continue on. Christina Ricci will be playing Catwoman, aka Selena Kyle, and I think that she sounds fantastic as Catwoman. Jamie Chung will be playing Harley Quinn, which will be a very different version of Harley Quinn. They went with an Asian interpretation, so of course they hired an Asian lady to play her. McKenna Grace will play somebody I have no idea who that'll be. Minnie Driver will be in the show. Reed Scott. Gary Anthony Williams, I'm assuming he's going to play Commissioner Gordon. Jason Watkins will be in the show. Tom Kenny. John DiMaggio. Let's see, Crystal Joy Brown, and a bunch of other people I've never heard of. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out, and so far, the cast is well selected. All these people have great voices. So nothing against them, just kind of want to see how the show plays out, and the trailer wasn't really enough of an indication to get me super hyped. Now, what do I have to say about the trailer? Well, the trailer more or less is kind of like Batman Year One. Again, this is a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series, so it has no relation to it, and I'm kind of glad for that because, well, it's kind of like the animated series light. It's got really violent stuff, it's got blood and gore and swearing, and, you know, they have tried to go in the 1940s with the show, but right off the bat, they kind of, well, needed to do their research, which I'm kind of surprised by this because Bruce Timm has been a stickler for that for years, especially when he tries to do period pieces. He's pretty good with that, but I don't know if it was Matt Reeves or J.J. Abrams. I'm probably going to blame J.J. Abrams from this. But there are elements of technology that didn't exist in the 30s and 40s that we see utilized in the trailer. For one, Catwoman is using a stun gun or a type of electrical, kind of like taser or electric zap weapons from like Arkham games, which I hate to say this didn't exist in the 1940s. What they had were billy clubs, which that's how they kind of, you know, more or less knocked enemies around. You had a club and you would whack people with them, or you would draw your revolver, as well as SWAT. The police officers are wearing SWAT armor that didn't exist in the 1940s. Even in the military, like the military police didn't have that kind of stuff. If they did, then our boys overseas during World War II would have been definitely using that kind of stuff to protect themselves. But that technology wasn't readily available for many, many years yet. So, you know, you could argue, well, they're doing what they did with the animated series, but that's not the case. The show is supposed to be taking place in a set time in our history, but with a fictional spin to it. So there are already elements in this show that didn't exist in the 1940s, such as television and things like that. TV was more common in the 1950s than it was in the 40s. Most people in the 30s and 40s would use the radio in order to get their news and entertainment from like radio dramas like The Shadow and even The Adventures of Superman. So to see them really leaning heavily on a lot of technology that would have been around in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s is kind of surprising, but again, you know, it is what it is. But again, you can't say that the show takes place in the 1940s. There were some blimps and stuff in the sky, which, again, very common, the type of airplanes and things like that. But that's my nitpicking aside. Let's talk about where the story is going with the Caped Crusader. For the most part, again, it feels like they're doing a whole Batman Year One, been there, done that. Batman is mostly dealing with organized crime in Gotham. He becomes a problem for the police because he's seen as a criminal, which, you know, at times Batman does appear very criminal-like. He beats people within an inch of their life. He is a masked vigilante, which is a big no-no, according to the law. And the police in this, just like Frank Miller's universe, aren't too keen to have Batman around doing his thing. Whereas Batman hasn't really made himself known to the public very much, so only the police and organized crime know about him, but that's going to change over the course of this probably 2-season show. It's like Batman is aware that things are going to change for him, but also criminals need to beware because now the gloves are off, so to speak. Batman's costume is more or less what we thought it was going to be. You know, it's very like 1939-esque, and that's fine. I liked the animation from what I saw, but again, not wowed because I feel like it's kind of like Bruce Timm light. They really could have gone with a better budget for the show because it feels like a mixture of the samey animation style we got with the Tomorrowverse mixed with a little bit of animated series to kind of like put like a sauce on it. Not a lot. It's not like the foundation of the food you're making. It's just kind of like the topping. And sometimes from what I saw, the animation, it wasn't very good. It was a little sloppy. Like maybe they got like a budget studio overseas to do it. But I'm still going to watch the show. I think it looks interesting, but I really hope that the music from the trailer isn't in the show. Because again, if this is 1930s, 1940s-esque, it should have either big band music or orchestrated stuff, because you know they didn't have like the Beware the Batman or even the 2004 the Batman music with the type of eerie guitar stuff. It doesn't really work for that. We'll see what happens, but yeah, not sold on that. The villains, for the most part, they look really weird. Two-Face especially, Clayface. The Penguin we don't really get to see more than a silhouette. Catwoman looks fantastic. I like that they're going with the Golden Age look for Catwoman. I think that's a perfect fit for her. And Harley Quinn's costume, she looks more like a medieval jester. If they're going with the whole Asian thing with her, it would have been probably more in her character for her to dress like a jester-like character from, you know, feudal Japan, which would have been more like geisha-like, but, you know, they probably wouldn't want to do that. I don't know. All in all, you know, I'd probably give the trailer like a 6. It hasn't really wowed me yet. I'm waiting for final judgment until I see the first episode sometime in August. And then, of course, I'll do a review, but it'll be just like this video where I can't even show footage. So we'll just kind of talk about it, running around in Arkham Knight, and yeah, it is what it is. But again, the voice cast sounds pretty decent. I've heard these guys in most stuff. I'm really curious to see what John DiMaggio's role is going to be in it. As you know, he's played the Joker before. I'm not saying Joker's going to be in the show. They're probably going to save him for season 2. And Harley Quinn is basically going to be the Joker villain in the show. And at one point, she's Batman's psychologist. So that's going to be interesting. It looks like Commissioner Gordon is going to be the only friend for Batman, as well as they're going with a fat Alfred, which people are probably going to be like, oh, that's, you know, totally woke and stuff. It's like, well, actually, Alfred was large and in charge before Thin Alfred. Then Alfred came in later, and they had a bigger Alfred for both Batman and Robin in the 40s, I believe. And then, of course, they killed that version of Alfred, and another version of Alfred came, and they went back and forth between Alfreds. The first time I ever saw the big Alfred was in a 0 Hour comic in the 90s for, I believe it was a Robin or Batman issue. And Alfred came back, and he was different, and people were like, wait a second, this was Alfred? And it's like, yes, that was Alfred at one point. They only made him really thin because of the 66 TV show, which people probably didn't know that, but it's true. So for them to go back to their roots, of course, they're going to use an Alfred that's bigger. And I don't have an issue with that. So this show definitely has some, we'll say, current modern audience vibes to it. But at the same time, I'm hopeful because I know for a fact that the writer that they have working on the show is actually really good. And he's written really great stories for superheroes over the years, as well as like crime-related stuff. So, you know, I'm hoping we get a mixed bag and kind of like an X-Men 97 thing where it's not going to be like The Acolyte. It's not going to be a joke. It's going to be something profound and fun and serious, and it'll make people happy to have a Batman show again. But anyway, now I want to hear from all of you. How do you feel about the trailer? You think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Do you think the show is going to be dead on arrival? Or do you think it's going to be good? Let me know in the comments section below. And that's it. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. I have to get ready for a lot of streams. I'm sorry I'm not over here a lot, but again, I'm a full-time streamer. So doing videos like this takes more time than I want to admit. And, well, unfortunately, I'm no spring chicken anymore. I don't have a team to edit videos, to write videos. It's all whenever I have time, and that time is very limited with my schedule. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I am committed to showing you guys the Arkham Shadow game when it comes out, and dividing a lot of my time between channels. But for news-related videos, when I get around to it, I get around to it. So keep it locked here for more info on Batman in films, TV, movies, video games, and occasionally comics when they don't suck. Later, Gothamites.